this might be a little gross. I'm just going to say, considering who's putting it out and the topic they're discussing, and the fact that they're as human beings discussing. So I might disgusting in general. I might bail out of this just if I've just had enough of this of Stankfield. But this is from Newsmax. This is about the NCAA is pulling events a la the MLB pulling the All-Star game from states that limit trans participation in sports because they are supportive of trans participation in sports. They are not, and no one is supportive of straight guys taking advantage of gray areas in the law, slipping on a dress, and trying out for the soccer team. That's not trans rights. That's people like Mike Huckabee gaming the system. It has nothing to do with trans people. If a man puts on blackface and attacks a black man, that is not an example, no matter how much Stankfield would want it to be, an example of black on black crime. You see what I mean? It has nothing to do with black people in that circumstance. It is not the fault of anyone black if someone pretends to be black while they're doing it, okay? A legitimately black person is not at fault for someone who pretends, any more than a trans person would be at fault for someone gaming the system and not actually being trans and trying to take advantage of the rules. If a straight guy goes into the ladies' room and is a sexual perv and just says, I was a woman, he's going to go to jail. And he should. That's not the fault of trans people. It will never be their responsibility. Their existence on this planet is not predicated on whether other people take advantage of laws, any more than if somebody dresses up like a cop and kills somebody, it's cop's fault. You understand? If somebody puts on military fatigues and walks onto a military base and shoots a bunch of people, it's not the soldier's fault that got shot or the people that were involved in that, and it's not somebody who's actually a soldier. It's someone pretending. If you want to create laws about people pretending, then get to working on it. But when it comes to trans people, it is not trans people's responsibility to deal with your straw man bullshit. What if John Wayne Gacy decided to dress as a woman instead of a clown, right?
Now announcing they will
Do they all talk like this? Son of a bitch.
no longer hold events in states banning transgender men from competing in women's sports.
Why would transgender men compete in women's sports? Transgender men would compete in men's sports because they are transgender men. Transgender women, I think, is who you're referring to, and for all practical purposes, are women, especially in the rules in girls' sports, the levels of testosterone you have to have in your system, they have to actually undergo a hormonal shift in a way that transgender men, when they compete in men's sports, don't have to, because I guess it's just your ass, right? It's just weight class and bring it.
The NCAA dubbed the laws designed to protect the integrity and fairness in women's sports. Well, they call it discriminatory. In a release statement to the NCAA...
Well, it is discriminatory. Your argument is that it is a valuable discrimination. Their argument is that it is not a valuable discrimination. Discriminating is a blanket term.
By the NCAA, the Board of Governors firmly and unequivocally supports the opportunity for transgender student athletes to compete in college sports. What planet do they live on? The NCAA now believes their more inclusive policy requiring, are you ready for this? Testosterone suppression treatment.
Right. Yeah, you can't do it unless you have testosterone suppression treatment. You can't play as a girl. Yeah, that's required.
For trans women, must somehow perfectly level the average height, weight, muscle, and bone density advantage of a biological male, which it will...
No, because I got news for you, bruh. Most of the I'm a biological male by your description, and most of those girls are taller than me. No amount of testosterone suppression is going to change my height. If you can qualify by height, then you'll make the team. If you, all right.
Will not. You realize what they're doing? They're going to reduce the amount of testosterone in these men competing as women.
They're not men competing as women. They're trans women. They're not just doing it to compete. This is not Russian gymnastics circa 1974.
So even the ACLU is now making it clear they're on the side of NCAA. Any state that strays from the woke liberal path will suffer financially, basically says the ACLU. Quote,
no, they just don't get events held there. And by the way, most of these states are low population states, like Wyoming and Montana and Idaho and Iowa. And so there is actually no financial incentive for the NCAA to go to any of these districts except just to be nice. It gives them an excuse. And again, this is one of those things about the whole like woke corporation idea that's freaking them out. When in reality, it's just business acting on their best interests in terms of the financial gain of it. Because the states that aren't going to have these are going to be the states with giant stadiums and lots of people. And they're not. California's not going to pass this kind of law. New York's not going to pass this law. I got news for you. Texas is not going to pass this kind of law. They'll try. They won't succeed. And so there's a bunch of these states with a lot of people in them where the NCAA would rather go, and they don't want to diddle around in Wyoming and Wisconsin or in Montana and Iowa and the like, simply because they kind of have to. It's an easy win. They weren't going anyways.
quote, discriminating against trans youth is wrong, against the law, and costly.
Right. Yes, against trans youth. Understand the distinction between trans youth and dudes wearing dresses to play girls' sports. The one is an actual class of human beings, and the other are male fetishists that apparently, in my estimation, Stanchfield, makes you heterophobic and masculine phobic, if that's a thing. Are you so afraid that dudes won't be able to, like, that can't win a trophy otherwise, aren't going to be able to pass up the sweet opportunity to get a heavy lifting trophy by throwing on a dress, and that this is going to be at a volume that's going to matter? Jesus.
Nothing like making a giant problem out of something that probably doesn't happen very often. More than 24 states are proposing, debating, or currently advancing legislation that requires athletes to compete in the...
Let me guess. Are there lots of people in the states you're talking about compared to the other states? Nope.
...category of their assigned birth gender.
Nobody has an what kind of cis bullshit is this? Nobody has an assigned birth gender. I wasn't assigned it. It was described. Nobody said, this is a boy. It went, oh, look, it's a boy. That doesn't mean they can't be wrong sometimes, which is the factor. Motang. He's using the same language that trans activists use, which is ironic as all hell. But nobody's assigned your sex at birth. You're described. And in terms of trans people, they're just wrong because they don't know what's going to happen later. They're just going on what they see in front of them. You're not assigned it. And even if you're like, this is a boy, and throughout its life, it's got to wear military gear and get a flat top and a striped tie and be like Stanchfield. It can by no means be David Bowie. This, I can tell by just the penis size and the body shape of this baby that it's going to grow up to be an 80s hair metal rocker. Nobody assigns kind of dick, like, I mean, I've heard this from both sides of the big shift on this. Nobody assigns it. It's descriptive. It just happens to be with trans people, they're technically right, but materially wrong. And it's okay. It's not a curse. They're just wrong. And over the course of a trans person's life, they can find ways to fix it in the same way that they could say, this child has no ears, it will never learn to hear. And then we get hearing aids, and then they get 3D printed ears with their own cells, and now they've got fully formed ears, and they can hear no matter what their doctor said about them being deaf their whole fucking life. Because at the time, there was no choice but to be deaf your whole fucking life. They weren't assigned deaf. He described it. This child is missing part of their eardrums. They're going to have to use some sort of, they're going to be deaf, and they don't have any formed ears. So your child is deaf. That's what they're going to say to the parents. It doesn't mean there's not options later. It doesn't mean you're deaf by definition. You're deaf by description in that circumstance. And if science catches up with the fact that you were born differently than your potential, and in this case hearing, and in another case being transgender, then that shift is available to you in the future. But it's not because the doctor fucking assigned your behavior. It's so funny. I actually think that sometimes transgender activists and the non-binary crowd have a tendency to shore up the assurance of masculinity and femininity as like goalposts, as opposed to the flexible reality that exists within them. That they make them even more foundational than they are, because in the same way that Christians by their assertion about Christianity affirm the existence of the devil, and Satan worshipers, no matter how much they like their God to overtake things, affirm the existence of God having created their God, that kind of thing. Like, you can't have one without arguing the other, and the more you argue, the more firmly entrenched that reality becomes. What if girls and boys played hockey together? It's a valid thought. That happens sometimes. You do have physical ramifications to boys being built a little thicker naturally. Doesn't happen with all of them, obviously. Today, I found out today, watching the Floyd trial, I weigh 20 pounds more than Derek Chauvin. I am 20 pounds heavier. How is that possible? I'm 5'9". Yeah. Well, Title IX would be for women, and then trans women would have to meet certain physical requirements to fit within the Title IX sports. That's how you do it. You don't just go, it's a bunch of dudes. I was amazed. Yeah, Karate Joe. I was like, Chauvin's he weighs 140 pounds. I'm 5'9". I'm 5'9". I mean, like, I'm not a truck or anything, but I'm substantial, but I'm not like, I don't have like some big, like, dude is fucking, he's taller than me. Ugh, I don't know. That was weird. Muscle weighs more than fat. That is true. That's true. So I like that. That was a weird part to me. But anyway, so no, Chauvin's 141 pounds. They said with his gear he's 160. Yeah, I'm 162.
Now that makes sense to me. Go figure, it's red states doing this. I want to now welcome in my panel, President of the Red Renaissance PAC, Kim Klacik is here, also with us, attorney.
The Red Renaissance PAC. You do realize that the right wing is offended by all things attributable to the Renaissance.
And Republican strategist Aaron Elmore. Kim, Aaron, great to have you both back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Kim, why don't you take this away here? They want to reduce the testosterone. This is how far they're going to go.
Well, yes, so you can compete. So if you're going to compete with women, you have to have a testosterone level in the neighborhood of women. So you don't have this overt easy win over them. Like, otherwise it's not women's sports anymore in that regard.
In the men competing.
Otherwise, you'd be able to have women juicing testosterone to get it higher.
As women.
This makes absolutely no sense. I don't know why we're even focused on this. I mean, I played soccer when I was in college, and I know for
oh my God, brown hands holding in front of a rainbow flag. Hell is here!
Fact that I would never, ever want to compete against biological men because, of course, as we know, you can try to reduce the levels of testosterone all you want. Biological men are just stronger, and that's what it comes down to. I think it's interesting, though, because they're saying...
Not all of them. Just saying.
Saying that they're not going to have these sports being played in these states. Well, it's the red states that are actually open so that these sports can be viewed in person. So at some point in time, they're going to
Oh
run.
my God! Look at all these girls. You should let dudes onto their team to beat the shit out of them. They're wearing Black Lives Matter shirts, bruh.
Out of states
I'm only quoting things you might hear in the comments section of this video.
to even do this in, but this is what we're dealing with.
I would pay good money to see you kick the crap out of Chauvin. That'd be I would prefer him to go to jail forever, but I'd do a celebrity boxing match with that one. Bare knuckle. I mean, he can wear gloves. Well, actually, take it back. I'll wear gloves, and he can be bare knuckle. How about that?
With right now, you know, the wokeism is taking over. The liberals have ruined absolutely everything from
Oh, you can't go anywhere. They've ruined Twitter.
social media to television to sports, and so that's where we're at.
Yeah, she can't watch television anymore, guys.
You know, Aaron, I'm with Kim on saying it always is like a pit in my stomach every time I have to cover these stupid stories. But the reason we do it is because this is the direction.
I think maybe, it might be, Stankfield, it might be that you're just too emotional to deal with these kind of issues. Have you thought about maybe getting your testosterone levels checked? I mean, you might have spiking estrogen. Maybe that could be, if you get a little knot in your, would some wine and ice cream help?
America is headed on so many fronts. But I really say to you, Aaron, what have we come to that this is the direction we're going, that we think it's fair for men to compete against women?
We don't think it's fair for men to compete against women. That's why trans women who want to compete in sports will have to be on testosterone-lowering treatments and be in a certain weight class to do it. I mean, initially, there were some folks that were playing in the margins, and so these laws are starting to get enacted so that you don't have straight dudes that went to college with Stinchfield going, man, I could just go. You mean if I play rugby on the girls' rugby team, I could just like slam chicks and it'd be awesome?
I mean, we went from the future is female to males and female sports real fast. This is going to prohibit women from being on the medal podium. It's going to prevent them from getting college scholarships, recognition that they deserve. You briefly spoke in your introduction about all of the differences biologically between men and women. Another one is lung capacity. I believe it was PragerU that did a great thing about.
Oh, thank God PragerU is there to talk to us about lung capacity. By the way, you do realize women make better fighter pilots, right? Because of their cardiovascular system and the way their brains are built, that they can actually take G's better. It's harder to get them to blow other people out of the sky. Apparently, that's the difficult part. But as far as flying the plane really fast and targeting things, they're really good at it.
About track stars, the most
They're also better pearl divers. Oh, that's not right.
famous and well-regarded female Olympic track star wouldn't even medal compared to these male athletes. It's very, very sad, and it's not right for women, like I said.
Yeah, but these aren't men. They're trans women, and they're going through massive hormonal treatment to be able to participate in these sports in a way that, by the way, some of the women have it. There was a female track star whose testosterone naturally was higher, and she had to take like estrogen to bring it down.
I said we used to hear.
By the way, these assholes are dedicating an entire segment, 7 minutes of this shit, to something that deals with, how many pro and college athletes are about 0.05% of the populace, and then trans people are about 0.05% of the populace overall. And that means that the overlap of athletes and trans people is micro-fucking-scopic. You could argue that the NCAA doing this is really a matter of posturing because it's very rarely even going to come up.
To hear from the left, the future is female, but liberalism is a disease of the mind, and they don't even know what they're saying anymore. They're just trying to out-woke each other to see how far left they can take America, and it's truly benefiting not men, not women, not trans athletes. It's benefiting no one.
Well, then how How is it not benefiting trans athletes? Obviously, it's benefiting someone, ma'am. It's clearly benefiting the John Wayne Gacy's of the world who want to join the girls' soccer team. What?
All right, so I wonder what would happen if they just did away with men's and female sports together and just said, okay, everybody plays one sport. Women, men, you try out for the basketball team. And guess what? No offense to women, there'd never be another woman playing a collegiate sport again. But this is the equivalent of what they're trying to do here. All right, I want to bring up next topic. Brett Favre, staying on the topic of sports,
is now coming out as a woman. What?
Finally, an athlete calling out the craziness of professional sports today. Listen to this.
This is going to be so good. Thank you, Brett Favre, for finally rips sports becoming political. Oh, what did you do? Finally see 42?
I think both sides, for the most part, want to see it just remain about the sport, not about politics. I want to watch players.
He said this on the Andrew Klavan show on the Daily Wire, live from the dude's mom's attic, where he lives as a ghost to scare children by looking out the window whenever they get in the yard. Jesus Christ. Can you get a Tim Scott makeover?
Players play, not what's going on outside of the game. And I think the general fan feels the same way.
Who's general fan? Is he the head of the Thai military?
Well, let me tell you something. Brett Favre doesn't wear Levi's jeans that hate guns. He wears Wranglers, Kim Clay.
Yeah, those anti-American Levi's.
It's like I love hearing that man talk right now.
Well, maybe if you just need to open yourself up to your feelings, Stankfield. Maybe.
Yes, I'm so glad that he's stepping up and being the voice of reason. And
I'm so glad that he's entering into the political discussion about politics and sports, because it's a shame when sports talk about politics. So he went on a political show on the Daily Wire to complain about sports being political. At least he's not hypocritical. That's
true. You know, people watch sports to get away from it all, right? If you want to watch the news or politics, you turn on Newsmax. People watch sports.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Because they want to watch sports. And so I'm so glad he's speaking out, and I hope
Look at all these black look at them in front of an American flag, and they're all kneeling in front of it like
more athletes do the same.
So gross.
No, I've been waiting for a female WNBA player to come up and say, look, like you said earlier, women are going to be basically out of this entire.
Look at him. Look at this guy with his Castro beard and this other guy with his Dominican braids with this, what does that say? Flack. Is Mater. I don't know. It sounds commie to me. I don't know. I don't speak 16th century Russian.
Movement, like Aaron was saying, women first and sports. If we do not step up and start saying something, you know, there's an NBA, the WNBA for a reason. That is because we cannot play on the same team.
Yeah, but if a guy wants to join the WNBA as a professional, like, they gotta lower their testosterone to such a level that they would have long-lasting. Because that's the other thing. You can take, estrogen treatments and bring down your testosterone. As a biological male who's transitioning, but it's going to have some long-lasting physical damage to your body. You're going to some degree against your own hormonal output from your own organs to make this happen, and they don't know the long-term effects on what it does in terms of osteoporosis and all this kind of thing. And if you're willing to take that on, you're kind of a next-level champion. It's kind of like the argument for why there should be strength enhancing stuff in sports. Shouldn't sports, players all over the place, shouldn't they be on every performance enhancing drug you can possibly put? So they can be this big testing center to see who lived the longest and didn't get nut cancer and can run super fast.
Aaron, your message to pro athletes, if you can, in 15 seconds as I run out of time here.
Shush. In the nicest way possible.
Okay, so if a trans athlete is performing, is with you on the field and they're playing on the team and they're either the star athlete or they're not pulling their weight, so just don't talk about it. Okay, good. All right, cool. So you should keep politics out of sports, so don't pass laws about sports then. Okay, cool.
Sports were doing so well with their wokeness, viewership would be through the roof. As Michael Jordan said, Republicans buy sneakers too. Leave your politics off the field, off the basketball court, off the medal podium. Shh. Respect.
Yeah, shut up and play, along with shut up and sing and all that kind of stuff. Of course, if you're one of these folks, which I guess, what exactly is this? Because if you're in the Tallahassee area or within driving distance, the first week of May, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, I will be performing in the Tallahassee Shakespeare Festival doing Malvolio in 12th night. I have a comedy show coming up on Rush Ticks May 14th, right after I get back from doing that. rushtix.com/events/houseparks if you want to buy a ticket to that. I have 2 shows that you can, that run in rotation between Lab Rats and Queer as Folk that you can watch. And of course, I'm going to be doing another movie this summer that we're working on right now. And Nerd Halen will be performing this. I think our first show will be June 6th. So I do a bunch of shit on top of this, what I'm doing here, okay? I have another career, guys. I have other capabilities, right? So it's really difficult to tell me to shut up and do all the things I do, because I'm a multi-irons in the fire bootstrap performer. I'm an entertainer because I have to do all these things on some level, because I want to, and I believe in my capability, and I think I'm entertaining, and I wouldn't show up if I wasn't, and I like to bring joy and information and understanding to people. That's what I do. So I do other shit. They don't do anything else. The 2 of them run political organizations, this asshole's on Newsmax, which, for all of its money, has lower production values than my show. So at what point does my voice have some validity, because I have 5 other areas where I make a living, where I help, where if I don't directly employ people, my existence in a circumstance allows for the employment of a bunch of people. There's a lot of crew that work on a lot of the shows that I do. There's a lot of clubs and waiters and waitresses and stuff that rely on me showing up and doing my job in a weekend. I bring the economy everywhere I go. What the fuck do these guys do? What do they do? To tell people who are the most extraordinary athletes on earth, that have reached a level that puts them in the upper 2% of the upper 2% of athletes of all time, even if they're just on the team with the star player you know the name of, they're amazing. And they're already at that level. And these 3 dipshits are going to tell them what they can and can't talk about in their spare time, or what is meaningful to them in their life, when they do nothing else. What the fuck? Seriously, I will pick an activity. Pick an activity. I don't care even if I have never done it before, that these assholes do in their spare time, or as their idea of their main hobby, or something that they consider to be, if he's a dead shot or some shit from being in the military or something like that. You give me 3 weeks and I'll match or exceed his level. Any of these assholes, Greg Kelly, anybody on Newsmax, whatever the fuck you do, fucking paragliding, I don't care, deep sea, holding your breath underwater, ice swimming, anything. I will knock all of them on their ass. And if they did manage to beat me at it, I'd go, then shut the fuck up and ice fish. Because you're an ice fisher. I don't want to hear you mixing politics and ice fishing, or whatever the shit you're talking about. Yeah, same thing with Matt Gaetz. Swear to God. Yes, archery. I have 3 bows in my garage. I got bear arrows out there, kids. Frisbee golf. All right. I have an ultimate frisbee from when I was 9 years old, when my dad and one of his buddies were on an ultimate frisbee. This is true. A frisbee football team in Kentucky. And my dad designed the logo for the for the team, and it's on the Frisbee. I still have it. Yeah, it is very effective. Perm my bangs. It's a good idea. Spinning plates. I doubt any of them can spin plates, but I bet I could learn how to do it. That's the point. So could you. Most things are just practice. Okay? The concept of inherent talent is, to me, bigoted on some front. Because anytime you see somebody like, oh my God, this 9-year-old can play piano like it's incredible. Well, that's because both of his parents are concert pianists. He's been playing since he was 3. If you played nothing, you did nothing for 6 years but played piano and you had no bills and someone else took care of it, you damn right you'd be a great piano player. Shit. But my point is that while they're going, shut up and play your sports, shut up and do your thing, shut up and do your one thing, when they don't fucking do anything. Like I do this, I do what they do, and it became my way of making a living during COVID, thanks to you guys and thanks to the fact that I'm right about everything. Right? Honestly. Because if I was wrong about the whole Biden-Harris and the 306 electoral votes and the 7 million votes and Trump getting impeached twice and that he wasn't going to win and that all of his things would fail and that even after the 6th they would fall apart and Rudy Giuliani's thing was full of shit and like that I called out all this stuff. If I was wrong about that, you people would have gone away. But you stuck around because I was right. I was correct about these things. Not righteous, but just aware and could convey it in a way that didn't add to the misery we were all currently in, which is a gift I think I can give. And I've exchanged that gift for people joining the Patreon and super chatting and subscribing to the show, and that seems and nobody has to, and everybody can who wants to, right? That seems fair. That's what a great thing, right? Good old-fashioned resource capitalism, except instead of a gold mine, I just mine my own skull, right? That's it. Sucking the paint off a doorknob. A couple of them might have me beat at that one, Cutizen. Political talk soup. Yeah, kinda. There's an argument for that. Congrats, Richard. I'm glad you got your second Pfizer shot. That's fantastic. But the point I'm trying to make is that, I do what they do. I'm, nearly equally successful with it. Like I have the same number of subscribers as they have views on this video, and he's got 1.8 million subscribers on this channel. So statistically, I'm kicking their ass left and right, and I've only been doing it for less than a year. And I still do all my other shit. Have you seen the sketches for Sexy Liberal? I'm just saying. Thank you, Foggy OG. And these assholes are telling, like, the elite athletes in the world, even the college athletes, that they shouldn't express themselves politically? No, this is America. They have every right to. And if you don't want to go to a game because it disgusts you, then fuck off. The problem they have and why they're very upset about it is the seats are always taken. That if they empty a seat by boycotting, somebody is in line to take that seat. It doesn't work. That's why they're mad. This is just Stankfield. And again, I'm sick of the heterophobia. As a straight white male, I'm not out to get anybody. I'm not going to dress up in a dress just so that I can win a trophy. I'm not looking for to assert my dominance over another person based strictly on race. I'm not assuming things about women, and I wasn't raised during a cross between Mad Men and the 1600s, and so I don't have a chip on my shoulder like this dickhead and these twits. Ugh. Speak for yourself. I go over Niagara Falls in a barrel. I have no interest in that, and I don't think they do either. Rodeo clown. That I would do. That sounds interesting. Give out bowl awards. Strategy. Melissa, thank you. Thank you for being you, and I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna let you guys go because it's already 5:02, so I'm past my time. And yesterday I dragged on, and I've got to go post the videos of the guys video from yesterday because it's up online, and I have to put it up there. So like this big fear that 0.05% of the population are going to somehow invade 0.02% of the athletics in the country in a way that's, damaging, as if you can physically assault someone in the shower and get away with it, as if there aren't lesbian and gay athletes or bi athletes that would be in just as much trouble if they sexually harassed or assaulted someone. And what is this? What do these assholes think? That they just, oh my God, I'm scared of being ogled. Half the misogynistic, catcalling assholes that are anti-gay seem the root of their problem is because we've always had this idea that somehow that anti-gay straight males are that way because they themselves are gay, which is ridiculous because it's not gay on gay crime. Gay people are not responsible for all the homophobia in the world. That's ridiculous. There's a sound group of them that it's actually their own misogyny that makes them homophobic, because they think gay men look at them the way they look at women, and the way they look at women is fucking awful, so they're offended that someone is looking at them that way, because that's how they look at their sexual conquests. They have no respect for that person. They denigrate them. They belittle them. They think they're less than or have less intrinsic worth. They don't think they're equal to them. And so therefore, when a gay man is attracted to them, or they believe that's a potential to happen, they also believe all those other factors are true. So what they are feeling is, curiously enough, when they get in their what most people refer to as their like homophobic outrage, which I'm sure this dude has bouts of twice a week, it's because they are feeling emotionally what it is to feel the effects of misogyny. To be totally frank. So if you look at your own sexual conquests in a disgusting way, then anybody who you believe is looking at you as a sexual conquest is thank you so much, Joe Carter. You're amazing. Then you're going to view anybody who looks at you that way as having those same feelings towards you. So you view it as personally insulting, and it affects largely these assholes. Also have a huge scoop of a low self-esteem, and little guy syndrome mixed in with it. So they feel it the effect of, I had a buddy, Scott, who was a stand-up comedian. He passed away, but he was gay, and he had this joke. He's a big dude. He used to wear a hockey jersey or a football jersey. It was rotating on stage. And then midway through the show, he'd pick some dude out in the audience, and he'd go, "Hey, you like to cook?" And yeah, people think I like. He did this bit, and then he would come back and he goes, I screwed up that joke. I should have told everybody I was gay before I told you that joke, or it doesn't make sense. But I was so thrown off by this dude over here because he's so attractive. And then he would pick a guy out that was in a couple. He would always do it with a couple. And the guy would always cinch up next to his girl and I got a girlfriend. And Scott's joke was, does it upset you that I find you attractive? And invariably, because it was a comedy audience and it was my comedy audience, they go, no. And he goes, well, it should upset you because I'm big enough to hold you down and do whatever I want to you. And that got a big laugh from the audience, right? That said, that is basically the reason it got a laugh is because that's the root fear of a lot of Stankfields in the world. Yeah, I guarantee that Stankfield is afraid that he's going to find out that some WNBA player thinks he's cute, and it turns out she has a penis. Like that, he wakes up and sweating that's going to happen to him. That's where a bunch of these guys. That's where their fear lies. I have if you want to see my bits about these things, about the phobias and stuff, please come see my stand-up when I'm back out on the road, because I don't want to spend any of it here. But on a philosophical level, there's a lot more to it than simply just phobia about those things themselves. It undercuts the real psychological problem that they have. And the root of a lot of what people refer to as homophobia in this country is not an abject hatred of gay men or whatever. It is absolute misogyny. It is a sexism towards women, and the idea that some guy might make you into a woman, considering what you think of women, is a horrifying thought to these guys, and that's the root of the fear, right? I mean, it's the root of the prison rape jokes. It's the root of this, this belief about gay men. And the worst is, what if you like it, and that means what if you actually have those proclivities, and you're afraid of, you've never felt them, but what if they magically come up, as if that's how it works? Then what do you do? So you have to hate it. You got to be angry about it. You got, so that's that. I mean, obviously, because of Queer as Folk, I had to deal with a lot of these folks over the years. I've met a bunch of them. I've seen a lot of them. I've had some of them. We had some of them on the show, believe it or not. So that's what this will always be about. If we can, there's certain things, if we can deal with them, other things will go away, because they're integral to this. If we can, over time, raise up a respect for women, and equality for women in the normal interactions of human beings, which is no small feat, not just because it's been a long road in America, but because we have a lot of people coming into the country, or raised in societies within the country that are built on the idea that women aren't equal. That's rough. So you always got that. You got a new crowd. You always have to kind of cure of that idea. But worldwide, we start moving in that direction. The rest of those, a lot of what we consider homophobia goes with it. It's a dream. A boy can dream. I mean, I'd like it if we all met on the playing field equally. That'd be nice. I'm just thinking. I know. I mean, what are you gonna say? I've always been wonderfully optimistic and naive in those terms, and I would like to keep that. I'm going to keep it that way. I insist.